She was simply, to millions around the world, the Queen. The most famous woman of her time. So much history, so many indelible moments. Decade after decade, from the Cold War to the computer age, what an extraordinary reign. And for all those years, through all that history, duty is what defined this remarkable woman. She was born in 1926, a little princess, Lilibet her family called her, who was never expected to become queen until her uncle, the Playboy King Edward VIII, abdicated the throne to marry an American divorcee, and her father then became King George VI. The young Elizabeth was suddenly next in line for the throne.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family.
During World War II, the princess did her duty. She was a driver and mechanic on the home front, and she fell in love in those years a handsome prince, swashbuckling Navy Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten.
Take thee, Philip.
To my wedded husband.
To my wedded husband.
They married in 1947. 5 years later, when King George died, Lilibet became Queen Elizabeth II. Her coronation was an international sensation. But the British Empire Elizabeth inherited was falling apart, all the colonies becoming independent nations. So she helped to create a new realm dubbed the British Commonwealth.
When we were young, it was very easy to take our grandmother for granted. She was just a grandmother to us. But I've actually really learned to sort of understand and accept the huge deal that she is around the world.
Elizabeth traveled the world, more than 250 overseas trips, showing how the British monarch could change with the times and shape them, even as she raised 4 children, the most famous working mum in the world.
She was a young woman in a man's world, carving her own way through life and through a job that she, like any of us, don't necessarily have all the preparations you'd like. I think she's done amazingly well.
Queen Elizabeth reigned through over a dozen American presidents and just as many British prime ministers. Her first was the formidable Winston Churchill, proving a savvy stateswoman and a constant leader on the world stage. The years brought their ups and downs. The wedding of Prince Charles and Diana seemed to be a highlight, and Elizabeth watched as her daughter-in-law captivated the world in the 1980s. But when that marriage collapsed so scandalously, many Britons began to doubt the relevancy of the monarchy itself. When Diana was killed in a car crash in Paris, Elizabeth stayed in Scotland with her family. As waves of grief rolled over Britain, the Queen was seen as unsympathetic, and public anger at the royal family reached a fever pitch. And then she returned and joined her people in mourning.
What I say to you now, as your Queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. As monarch, Elizabeth maintained tradition and yet moved just enough with the times.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Your Majesty.
Who can forget her appearance alongside 007 Daniel Craig at the London Olympics? It was a rare moment of public fun from a woman who prized dignity, but her family knew a different side.
If you do ever have problems, you can share them with her and she will listen and she will try and help. But otherwise, she sort of lets you get on with your own life and carve your own path.
Perhaps one of Elizabeth's proudest moments, Prince William's marriage to Kate Middleton in 2011, a wedding that united the British people and breathed fresh life into the monarchy. 2 years later, the Queen would welcome the newest heir to the throne, Prince George, and later Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis.
She's a remarkably energetic and dedicated guiding force for her family. And I'm so glad that my children are having the chance to get to know the Queen.
In 2015, Elizabeth became the longest-serving monarch in British history, passing her great-grandmother, Queen Victoria.